Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about sacred energy transmutation. When you hear people talk about manifestation or creating your desired reality, there are always three concepts that they talk about. And it is your vibration or your frequency, your consciousness, and your emotions. This is all you need to manifest. There are many different ways that you could break this down. There are certain spiritual systems, spiritual teachings, preachings, different philosophies that you can look at. You could look at the Kabbalah and look at the tree of life, and it shows how energy transcends from Kether to Malkuth. Malkuth is a representation of Earth, the physical plane, and Kether is a representation of the divine. And there are different Sephira in between that are a representation of different realms and different energies, which are different aspects of the universe, but also different aspects of ourselves. And when you awaken different realms and different energy signatures inside of yourself, then you are able to transcend. You are creating the bridge from Malkuth, or the third dimension, to Kether, to the divine. You could look at chakras. You know, the root. You started with the root chakra, and then you get to the crown chakra. With the crown chakra is, you know, is associated with connection to the divine or connection to the universe, but it all has to start with the root chakra, because if your root chakra or your sacral energy is low, then now how can you move that energy upward to go to the divine? So it all starts the same way. And it is simple, but it is not easy, because you have to go through a certain level of ascension. You have to go through a certain level of work spiritually to be able to maintain a certain frequency for a long enough period to be able to create or attract or quantum jump, whatever you want to say, to your desired reality. And when people say, oh, you have to raise your vibration, there are so many different ways that we can do this. We all have our different unique blockages that are stopping us from maintaining that frequency for long enough so that we can then move to our desired reality. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a Taoist practice or a Taoist philosophy that is involved in Chinese medicine. I'm going to be using these philosophies to explain how we can raise our energy and raise our consciousness to be able to quantum jump, or however you want to look at it, create your desired reality. These are known as the three treasures. So the first energy is Jing. It is associated with our ancestral energy, our vital life force, the energy that we are born with from our parents. There's a certain amount of energy that we get upon the moment of creation. When the sperm meets with the egg, this is when we receive our Jing energy. We also receive a certain amount of Jing energy inside of our mom's womb. This is the ancestral type of Jing energy. There's also another Jing energy that we can preserve and that we can create and build up through our sexual energy. And this is why it is important to understand what your sexual energy is, the power that it has, but also how you can use it to transmute and to transcend your level of consciousness, because this is the seed to the other two energies. Depending on how much Jing you have is going to determine how much Qi you have. The Qi is the energy in our body. We all heard of Qi before. You have to use your mind to be able to direct the flow of energy throughout your body. This is where you get certain practices like Tai Chi or Qi Gong, or certain yogic practices like pranayama, where the intention is using the breath to move energy throughout parts of your body. You also can move Qi throughout your body when you work out, or when you just stretch, or when you go on a walk. But depending on the intention that you're using with your mind is going to determine the flow of energy throughout your body, the Qi. The next energy is Shin. Shin is associated with spiritual energy. It is the energy of our spirit. And once you are able to move the energy throughout certain parts of your body to a certain level, you now have the ability to become aware of the subtle energies that exist within inside of us. There's 7 different subtle bodies that we have. You have the etheric body, the celestial body, the astral body, the emotional body. And the emotional body, this is an important body, because our emotions are going to dictate the frequency and the vibration that we're on. And I'm gonna get into that. But basically, the importance of Jing, Shin, or Jing, Qi, and Shin is, when you understand these three energies, these three concepts, you understand how energy ascends with inside of ourselves, but also with inside of the universe. There has to be a seed. Once you have the seed, you then water the seed the same way how you would create a plant. You have the seed, which is the life force, you water it and you give it sunlight. Once you give it sunlight and you use the intention to grow the seed, it then manifests into what it was supposed to be. And this is where you get Shin, the spiritual aspect of ourselves. You have to have the seed. You have to have this sexual energy or this Jing built up before you can ascend. These are the levels of ascension that is the formula for this third dimensional reality. And this also shows on a physical level in our brain. I've observed a certain correlation between the way that we ascend or the way that we raise our vibration, and I've related it to our brain. Our brain releases 3 main chemicals that is associated with our mood or our spiritual ascension. There are 3 chemicals that are linked to our spiritual ascension. When people think of serotonin and melatonin, they think about sleep and they think about, being awake, but it's deeper than that, because depending on how much Jing you have built up is going to determine how much serotonin you have. And there are scientific studies that prove that the energy or the chemicals that are in semen, it is found that serotonin is one of them. And this is something that you can feel, because when you abstain from sexual practices or from, having an orgasm, you understand that your sleep will begin to be better. Your mood will be better because you're building up more serotonin in your brain. And serotonin is associated with mood, memory, and learning. And this is important because your memory is directly associated with your consciousness. Your memory is directly associated with your consciousness. That's why sometimes when people wake up from your sleep, you don't remember your dreams, because the dream world is in the 4th dimension. And if you do not have your 4th dimensional consciousness built to a certain level or connected to a certain level, then you will not be able to bring back these memories from the 4th dimension to the 3rd dimension. So serotonin is associated with mood, this is also important because if you study the vibrational chart of frequency or the emotional frequency chart, however you want to say it, it is showing the correlation between your mood or your emotions, your vibration, and your consciousness. So if you're not able to have a certain mood, if you're not able to obtain a certain level of emotion, you will not be able to vibrate to a certain level. If you're not able to vibrate to a certain level, you will not be able to go to your desired reality. So people always talk about, oh, raise your frequency, raise your consciousness. But it's like, how do you do that? Jing. It all starts with the Jing. It all starts with this sexual energy. It all starts with this energy. See, some people are able to move to their desired reality easier because the Jing that they were given from their parents. We all inherit things from our parents. We all inherit things from our ancestors. The same way how you can receive certain ancestral karma, certain things that you have to work through, you can also receive certain ancestral Jing or ancestral energy that is going to help you move forward because it's already programmed into your DNA. But if you are having trouble manifesting your desired reality, if you're having trouble getting this information or working through certain blocks, then you have to understand that you may not have enough Jing built up. If you're going around, you're not being conscious of the sexual energy that you're having, or you're not being conscious about certain foods that you're eating and how it's affecting your body, then this may be something that you can benefit from. You may look at someone else who they are not paying attention to their lifestyle at all. They're not paying attention to their energy, their spirituality, but they're still able to move forward. They're still able to have events happen in their favor because they're accessing their desired reality. They're accessing that version, that parallel version of themselves that have that information. They're accessing that easier because they have natural Jing. They have the ancestral Jing that's just built up, that's just already programmed into their DNA. But for some people, you may have certain things to work towards. We all have different starting points. We all have things that is working for us and working against us. So you have to understand yourself to understand where you have to go. If you understand the situation that you were born into, the habits that your parents have, the knowledge that your parents was able to give you, you can kind of understand that there is a link between what you were given and what you have, because you can't give something that you don't have. So if your parents wasn't giving you certain information or giving you the exposure to the vibration of money, then you may not have this naturally. You have to build it up. You have to access the information, practice it, and then ascend. So the next chemical that releases in our brain is melatonin. Melatonin is synthesized from serotonin. So depending on how much serotonin your brain is producing is going to determine how much melatonin your brain is producing. And depending on how much melatonin your brain is producing is going to determine the ability or the quality of sleep that you'll be able to have. And sleep is important for many ways. We can look at this on a physical level because, you'll wake up, you have more energy, you have more chi that is flowing throughout your body. But on a spiritual level, when we dream, we go into the fourth dimension. So if you're waking up and you're not remembering your dreams, then this can be a sign of the connection with your fourth dimensional self is weak, or you're not having the fourth dimensional self awakened, or your fourth dimensional body is not strong. The same way how you go to the gym and you build up your third dimensional body, there are certain practices, like I mentioned before, qigong, there's certain, whatever spiritual practice that you have, meditation, there's certain magical practices and spiritual systems that is certain meditations that are in it that will raise your energy. There's so many different ways. Just by understanding this and practicing this is a spiritual practice within itself, but it goes deeper than that. You have to constantly do spiritual practices so that you can move this energy throughout your body and create spiritual aspects of yourself or your spiritual bodies. There's one spiritual body that is known as the vehicle, or the vehicle of light, and it's called the Merkaba. And once you activate this spiritual body, it is said that you are able to go anywhere in the universe. So if you're able to go anywhere in the universe with this spiritual body that is now activated within inside of yourself, which we all have it, but you have to, in a way, either unlock it and then activate it. Once you unlock it by realizing that it's there and doing certain spiritual practices, it becomes awakened, because where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're putting attention to this aspect of yourself, it's automatically woken up. But now you have to put gas into the vehicle of light, which is the spiritual practices. But anyway, melatonin, it regulates our sleep and our ability to dream, our ability to be fourth dimensional. Once you have a certain level of melatonin built up, and you are, in the same way how when you use the energy in your body, or use your mind to dictate the flow of energy in our body, the same way when you have a certain level of melatonin built up, you are then able to produce more DMT in your brain, in your pineal gland. All of these chemicals are produced in your pineal gland. There is the spiritual aspect of it, which we all know, which is the third eye. And people say, oh, I got my third eye open. But what does this really mean? What does your third eye open really mean? Just because you found out about spirituality and you may read a couple books or watched a couple videos doesn't mean that, your third eye is open. There's certain practices that you got to go through in order to be able to have your brain produce DMT, because DMT is the spiritual molecule. It is the connection to spirit. That's why when you see certain people take DMT, they're able to have these altered states of consciousness experiences. They're able to, go to different realities or communicate with interdimensional beings because they have the DMT. And the DMT that people may get from the psychedelic experience is taken from certain other animals in the brain from them, but we can produce this ourselves naturally. But, most people don't have the discipline to be able to align their circadian rhythm, go to sleep. Everybody got different lifestyles, but you also have to have the Jing energy built up. That is the seed of everything. If you don't have the seed, then nothing can grow. If you're watering and giving sunlight to nothing, then what's going to grow? That's why, depending on your spiritual growth, your spiritual practices are only going to be as powerful as the energy that you give them. And the energy that you have within inside of your mind and your body is only going to be as powerful as the seed or the Jing or the vitality, the life force. It all starts with the life force. It all starts with how much you have. It starts with how much you have, how much you can expend, and then how much you can transcend. Same way here, how much you have, how much you can give and spend, and how much you can transcend. Once you start producing DMT in your body or in your brain, you will realize, one, your emotions are going to be higher naturally. Same way, serotonin, but you'll be able to have lucid dreams. You'll be able to maybe even have certain astral experiences where, if you're not familiar with the term astral projection, is when you are able to have your spiritual or your astral body exist outside of your physical body, and you have access to different realms. And the reason why people aren't able to dream or lucid dream, and the importance of lucid dreaming is because when you're in a dream, you have direct consciousness or direct correlation to your subconscious mind. So if you were able to develop the ability, if you're able to be lucid in your dreams, then you have the ability to dictate and program certain thoughts, certain energy into your subconscious mind. As above, so below, right? Your inner world creates your outer world, right? So if you're able to be lucid in your dream world and you're able to control the reality or control or manipulate the environment, then what does that say? Well, how will that reflect into your physical world? If you're able to have access to the infinite in your subconscious mind every night when you go to sleep and you're lucid and you're aware in that state, then how will that transfer over to your life? How will that transfer over to your physical realm? As above, so below, as within, so without. If you are going into your inner world and you're able to manipulate the environment, and this is another reason why people can't lucid dream or lucid live, because you do not have access to the emotion or the energy. You do not have the access to, and consciousness. What is lucid dream? The being aware in your dream. Awareness is consciousness. If you do not have the consciousness, then you will not be lucid. You will not have the consciousness if you don't have the energy. You will not have the energy if you do not have the emotions or the mood or even the memory, because you could be lucid and then not bring it back because you do not have the memory in order to, bring that those fourth dimensional experiences back to the third dimension. So it all starts with Jing. You cannot look at how someone else is living their life and the things that someone else is experiencing and think that it will happen the same way for you. That's why I think the whole spiritual, community or the spiritual philosophies that everyone preach about, raising your vibration, it's so true. It's so simple, but it's so complicated because we are all different. We all have different starting points. We all have different tools that we're given. You can't look at someone else and think just because it worked for them, it'll work for you. You have to understand. You can learn from other people's experiences, but you have to understand that your energy, your mind, your DNA, everything is different for you. Something might work for someone else. It might work for, a lot of different people, but something that we will all benefit from is building up our seed energy, building up our Jing, building up our sexual energy, building up our life force. There are many different ways to look at this, but it all starts with the seed. It all starts with the Jing. These are different levels or different interpretations of spiritual ascension. This is the energetic perspectives from the Taoists, like I said, and the three treasures of Chinese medicine. But this is something that exists within inside of all of us. This is something that our brain produces. So if you have a hard time understanding this, or maybe you don't understand energy, or you're not, subtle, you're not, sensitive to the subtle energies that exist within inside of us, or the subtle bodies. If you've had a hard time understanding that, you just have to look at it in a way that makes sense for you. Because we can all understand our brain at a certain level. We all go to sleep. We all have, different times where our mood is higher or lower, or we have the ability to recall certain things or remember certain things. Something that a lot of people aren't familiar with, though, is the spiritual essence or the spiritual molecule that is produced within us. When you produce certain spiritual, or when you produce DMT, the spiritual molecule, there are many different things that are happening. One, your energy or your aura is getting bigger because you're becoming in contact with the true essence of yourself. So that spiritual or the fourth dimension or whatever dimension version of yourself is now inhabiting this third dimensional body. So now, since you have spiritual energy that is existing in your body, your energy is bigger. It is flowing more. You're having access to a bigger pool of thoughts, emotions, and vibrations. Most people are only experiencing lower emotions because their serotonin levels are low. So people always talk about the aspect of frequency or vibrations, and they say, oh, you have to get here. But how do you get here? You got to start in the bottom. You got to build your base, your foundation. You have to build your Jing. You have to build your serotonin. You have to build your root chakra. You have to build your Malkuth. You have to be grounded in Malkuth in order to be able to go to Kether. So no matter how many ways you look at it, no matter how many different spiritual practices or systems. See, the thing is, most people, they look at religion or spiritual systems in a way of taking what the words mean and taking the stories as, and yeah, certain things can be, a way of life, or you can take certain, but what is the spiritual thing that's going on? What is the formula of ascension or transcension? Once you understand that formula, you can do whatever you want to do. You can live however you want to live. You can follow whatever practice you want. You can follow whatever spiritual group, culture, practice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the words. It doesn't matter. The stories are used to give you the formula of life, because we have the God essence within inside of us. We are connected to the gods. We are connected to the creator. We are connected to the whatever different way you want to look at it. We are connected to that. We are a part of that and existing from that. This third dimensional realm is a projection of a higher realm being projected into this third dimension, or projecting to create this third dimension. So, but it's being projected from a higher divine system. So if you understand where we come from and what we are, then you understand where we have to go. But once you understand where we have to go, then you have to understand how you get there. You got to put gas in your car in order for it to go. You got to put Jing in your energy for it to flow, for it to become spiritual energy. You have to have serotonin. So like I said, whatever way you want to look at it, it's always going to be Earth, using the energy from Earth in your mind to direct the energy to the spirit. Once you're spiritual, and in the process of moving the energy from your mind, you are raising your emotions. So even before you go to manifest anything in your life, you're going to feel good. You're going, and they say, oh, you cannot get to where you want to go unless you become that. You have to, in order to manifest, you have to be before you can become. And this is how you be. You have the energy. You have the higher moods. You have the higher emotion. Preserve that sexual energy. Get 8 hours of sleep. Wake up and go to the gym. Then you're going to feel good. If you do this on a consistent basis, how can someone not feel good? There's a certain perspective of understanding mental illness from a perspective of a chemical imbalance in your brain. And this makes sense, because if you're not producing serotonin, then how can you, if it regulates your mood, if there's a chemical that regulates your mood and you're not able to get enough of it, or your body is not naturally producing it, then how can you feel good? And if that chemical is associated with another chemical that regulates your sleep and you can't sleep good, then how are you resting? How are you replenishing the vital energy, the vital essence? So, lifestyle, Jing, sexual energy transmutation. How are you going to transmute your energy? There might be certain things that don't resonate with you or what I'm talking about, because you might not want to do qigong. You may not be an Asian person that accepts Asian philosophies or traditions. But what's that for you? Yoga, working out, going outside, doing things that you love, but also incorporating your physical body, moving your physical body. You have to move your physical body if you want to ascend. If you're having trouble manifesting, if you're having trouble feeling good, you have to move. You have to move the energy, You can't have stagnant energy. You can't have stagnant energy existing within inside of your body or within inside of your atmosphere and think you can use that stagnant energy to now transcend or move to another reality, or to even get information from another aspect of yourself on a quantum level, whether that be a parallel version of yourself, or the future version of yourself, or a higher version of yourself. How are you going to be able to get access to that information if the energy is stagnant and low? And they say if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you are not moving this energy, you have a low energy. And we all know what that's going to mean: low consciousness, lower vibration. So all three things are interconnected. Emotions equal consciousness, and consciousness equals frequency or vibration. And this is where we all want to be at. You all want to be at a level where your frequency is high, but you have to have a high level of consciousness. You have to be able to be aware of the things that are going on in your life. How are they affecting you? How are the thoughts you thinking? How are the thoughts that you're thinking on a day-to-day basis? How are they affecting you? How are those thoughts programmed? Who put them there? A lot of the thoughts that we think that we've been programmed don't even come from us. They come from our environment that we grew up in. They come from our parents. They come from our childhood experiences. So you have to go back. Neville Goddard talks about revision. You have to go back to these times in your life where certain traumatic experiences happen, and you have to change them and shift them. Because if you can't change your past, you can't change your future. And if you don't feel good about where you're at in life right now, then your future is not going to be good, because you are foreseeing that. However you feel on a day-to-day basis, it just determines your future. I mean, until you make that change, until you grow, until you increase and ascend and raise your frequency, you will be stuck in the same reality. But I encourage you not to do that, because we are creators. Since we are connected to the Creator, we are creators. So when we are not creating our reality or moving to that reality, then we are not acting in accordance to our nature. We are not being gods. We are not being, and in Christianity, they say, oh, you have to be like Jesus. Do what Jesus do. Jesus is the way. Okay, so if Jesus was doing certain spiritual practices and raising his frequency, then you should do that as well. And I'm, if you're not a Christian watching this, or whether you are, it doesn't matter, because it's all going to say the same thing. It's all going to say the same thing. And once you get here, when there's certain manifestation techniques, that they talk about, the 369, method, the visualization method, affirming or affirmations, or vision boards, or writing, scripting, or whatever it is. The reason why these aren't working is because you don't have a frequency. You don't have the higher frequency, because everything I just talked about. So understand who you are, understand where you at, understand what you was given, so you can understand what you have to receive, or what you have to build up for yourself. If you wasn't given enough, then go take it, go get it, And since we're only born with a certain amount of jing to a certain level, then if you depleted a certain amount, then you may only have a certain amount left, but you can compensate the jing that you have with the chi. So if you're healthy physically, if you're putting the right things into your body, then you will still be able to get shin. Chi comes from jing, but you can build up energy in your body naturally, even while having a limited amount of jing. So you don't want to deplete this, because it is very important. It's the life force, and it'll make all these steps easier. Everything will flow naturally. But if you release a certain amount of jing, then you have to focus on the energy in your body using your mind. You have to build that energy up, and you have to let it flow. So if you're going to the gym, you have to stretch. You have to do yoga. There's no way around it, because your energy in your body will be stagnant, and you will bring those emotions and those energies into the next day. And if you bring in those thoughts, energies, those stagnant thoughts into the next day, then you will be stuck into that reality. You have to stretch. You have to let go. They say there's a power of letting go. If you are holding on to these energies, you're holding on to the same thoughts, because look, emotions and consciousness are connected. Energy and consciousness are connected. So when you're holding on that energy, you're still having that certain level of consciousness that is still producing those thoughts. So you really gotta stretch, honestly. Like that's really a big, powerful key. Like stretching equals manifestation. If you stretch, then you're gonna manifest your desired reality. But no, it's facts. Like you have to be fluid. You have to let the energy flow throughout your body, because if everything is energy, how can you flow to that desired reality if the energy isn't flowing within inside of yourself? It's not gonna work. The mirror principle, as within, so without. If you are not flowing, life will not flow for you. The things that you want will not flow towards you. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I could talk about that. You could break this down in many different ways. You could say this in many different ways, and you could look at it from different perspectives, different spiritual systems, but it's pretty much what it boils down to at the end of the day. Learn it for what pertains to you, understand the truth, and then understand how you can use certain tools and certain practices to be able to benefit you. And raise your frequency by raising your consciousness and by raising your emotions. So, yeah, man. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm out.